Hello, my name is Gibby, here for Lore Cattle Ranch, and previously we've discussed how Otaku King is a small creator who ran into Chris in public and decided he wanted to help Chris out. The community warned him that Chris cannot be helped, that he takes advantage of people, etc, 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 but Otaku King didn't heed these warnings. On February 2nd, 2024, Otaku King uploaded a new video about Chris Chan titled, "I am sorry, Chris Chan." Before we even begin, I want to say that under no circumstances should anybody harass or insult Otaku King. From everything I've seen, he is genuinely trying to help who he believes is a vulnerable individual. He is doing nothing wrong, he is simply uninformed about Chris. But this newest video is a good sign of things to come. Let's take a look. Also, sometimes Otaku King says you in reference to Chris, sometimes in reference to Kiwi Farms, and sometimes in reference to the viewer, so that might get confusing.
This has nothing to do with the bullying. Bullying, I strongly don't support. You know that. All you guys know that? I'm pretty sure y'all do. But however...
This is really important. Obviously, very few people, especially those who create content about Chris, support bullying. I think me and Otaku King can agree on that. But if you follow up something like that with the word however, then you're now opening yourself up to take a more nuanced stance. I've never advocated for bullying Chris, however, I also don't treat him like some sort of sacred cow, pun intended, that must be protected. Chris is a horrible person and should face the consequences of his actions.
I don't support how you're acting. I don't support whatever you're trying to do and all the things that's going on. I don't support that. So as your big brother, I'm gonna have to put the foot down.
Once again, this is kind of a 180 for Otaku King, going from defending Chris full stop to defending Chris from trolls. Defending his physical well-being, things that I also agree with, but still being able to criticize him. I think a lot of people are in that camp. And the things that he gets criticized for, like egotism, misandry, violent outbursts, homophobia, his crime against his mother, his transition basically being trans blackface, mooching off of people, laziness, etc, etc, etc. He rightfully should be criticized for those things. In a moment, Otaku King is going to explain exactly what he takes issue with. And I think this is the start of his redemption arc as he realizes that Chris is bad. Let's take a listen.
I'm going to just start out with this dimensional merge. I do not agree with that. We need to just stop it. You're not God. Like, you're trying to achieve some form of power and it's too much for you to handle. You're starting to act like Light Yagami,
God of the New World.
You are taking it too far and you need to tone it down. I don't agree with all this. I don't agree how you're acting when it comes to this whole dimensional merge. You're trying to, I'm hearing rumors about you trying to start some kind of church godlike thing, and you're just taking it way too far.
Chris has believed in the dimensional merge for over 5 years now, for half a decade. This is not something to just stop. It's not Chris's imagination, as Otaku King is going to say. It is a full-blown delusion brought on by his egotism and potentially some amount of dissociation. It's not something that sprung up between Otaku King's last 2 videos. It's something that Otaku King is learning about in full right now. Which is why I think that if he were to really learn about Chris, he would fall more into my camp of, yes, Chris is a bad person, no, Chris should not be harassed. And no, you cannot help him. I feel like I have to say this specifically because this video is ultimately about Chris Chan, but there is nothing wrong with Otaku King's consistent references to anime. I can see people making comments about him being as delusional as Chris, thinking anime is real, but that's obviously not what's going on here. Comparing complex real-life scenarios and feelings to widely understood fictional stories is not just a normal thing to do, it's actually an extremely effective way of communicating. There is a big difference between Putin is Voldemort and alluding to Death Note, in which the moral is that people shouldn't play God or with powers beyond their understanding when speaking to somebody who's playing God. I just foresee that that might be a criticism of Otaku King's video that I don't think is fair, and so I want to defend him on that.
Before everybody say, oh,
I told you. What did I tell you?
Hold on, QB Fonz. Hold on, everybody in the comment. I said I don't agree with bullying, is what I said. I don't agree with bullying. Hopefully, if you guys are cool, you don't as well. But I understand your point in certain things. I understand you're frustrated about how he act and all that stuff, and that's why y'all went to that path. But that's not how you flow with that path. You don't flow that way, all right? But I understand why y'all done it.
It was never really clear from Otaku King's videos what he knew about Chris and how much. Obviously, he knew him well enough to recognize him in Walmart, but Chris wanting to start a religion with him as the god is not new. Again, the only thing I can think is that Otaku King just became aware of how seriously Chris takes his Jesus delusion. In which case, Otaku King, if you're watching this, I just want you to know that we've known about this for so long that it's led to a lot of people, myself included, becoming jaded. We aren't mean to Chris because we're bullies. It's because we've been dealing with this for so long, and it does not get any better. That's why you can't be Chris's big brother. He thinks he's God, and God doesn't have a big brother. You can't help him that way.
When he got out of jail, he's slowly taking the time, doing what you need to do, all that, get into your own house, place. It was smooth. You was doing your streams. Everything was fine. But you went through the goddamn roof when you started talking about God like shit. And that need to stop.
Once again, I think this is the best outcome for Otaku King. I don't know if he's just expressing himself better now than he has in his last few videos, or if he really is having a change of heart. I can make anime references too, but I think he's now more in line with most of the community. I made a video a few days ago about weirdos who want to be a part of Christery, and I didn't really talk about Otaku King, because I don't think he's trying to insert himself into Chris's story to be famous or to make money. At the end of that video, I listed off what I call ethically sourced Chris-chan content. And honestly, I think if Otaku King makes content like this, where he goes over modern Christery with a critical eye and relates it to anime, then that could be a really unique avenue of discussing Chris. I just think there's this final barrier of him realizing that Chris can't be helped, that he must overcome in order to create that kind of videos. That does not mean becoming jaded like me, or even cutting off all contact with Chris. It just means doing away with the notion that he can be or should be Chris's big brother. I think his heart is in the right place, and what I'm mostly worried about is him being treated the way that Helena was treated. The Watchmen went after her. Chris tried to dictate her art because he saw it as conflicting fan fiction. What she makes is awesome, but there were hardships involved, and I don't know if Otaku King is ready for those hardships if Chris actually does start giving him attention.
To QB Farms and whoever else, I don't agree with bullying. Could we all be in that subject right there? Hopefully you guys don't agree with bullying. However, I don't agree with all this chaos that you're trying to create like Yagami, and it's getting out of control. That's where the line gets drawn.
Once again, the God stuff started long before Chris was released from jail. Long before Otaku King uploaded his first video about Chris. So I guess the question to Otaku King is, would you have done things differently in your first few Chris videos if you had seen him for who he was back then? If you knew from the start that he thought he was God? In my first few videos on this topic, I said it's like a cycle where people learn about Chris, think they can help, and eventually become disillusioned, or get hurt. There were lots of people who were genuinely friends with Chris who knew him for years, who he would start to ignore if they didn't play into his dimensional merge delusion. The most realistic outcome I can see from this video is that Chris never speaks to Otaku King again, especially if Otaku King tries to bring this up.
And I know you guys are upset about the incident, and let's be honest, it cannot be proven, okay? I mean, And let's be honest, it's the past, all right? What's done is done, and we move on. If he did it, he didn't do it, he did do it, whatever. Let's move on.
I think it's easy to ignore the ramifications of Chris's actions since Barb is so old and out of the spotlight. But I think applying this to any other instance of would prove just how insane this is for Otaku King to say. Chris's victim is still out there. If my hypothetical abuser was a live streamer on YouTube and someone made a video saying,
"It's the past, alright?"
then that might be upsetting or damaging. Yes, Chris was not found guilty in a court of law, but he still admitted to it, and we all pretty much know it happened. Letting him off the hook not only lets a bad person get away with it, it also sends a message to survivors of that there might not be actual ramifications for their abusers if they're popular enough.
I wish I was there in the past to prevent a lot of the stuff you done, but unfortunately I wasn't there. Now I am here, so stop with the goddamn dimensional merge before you hurt everybody, including me, you, and your family. Okay? We're cool? I never 100% agree with everything Chris said.
Again, I have to close this by saying that there's a long line of people who have tried to help Chris, and none of them have been able to.
All those past videos was preventing bullying. That's what I was, trying to stop. Now, this whole dimensional merge, that shit is on a whole nother ball game, and that we need to stop. I thought we was going to have a good ending. A good anime ending. Like a good one. But I guess we still have to work a little harder to get that true ending. And if we have to, if I have to put my foot down, we're going to get that good ending. Again, I don't hate you, but I don't like what you're doing. There's a difference. Peace out.
This last part shows, I believe, who Otaku King really is, and it gives me faith that his story might actually have a happy ending. But as we know, that happy ending can only come from ceasing to attempt to guide Chris's life. As always, Otaku King's video is linked in the description. Do not harass, insult, or do anything but treat him with respect. The most anyone should do is give friendly warnings or try to inform him and any viewers he might have that might agree with him. Thank you for watching, please be nice to each other in the comments, consider supporting the creators you admire, and never lose sight of the things that are most important to you. Alright, so it should be noted that after I recorded this video, but before I uploaded it, Otaku made a video that was actually about me, taking issue with me name-dropping him in a recent video. He took issue with being called an enabler, and he doubled down on only being against bullying, which is a very good sign. If Otaku King doesn't enable Chris, and merely defends him from bullies, then I think me and him would really get along. I wrote and recorded the audio for the video that you just watched 2 days before Otaku King made his new video about me, but honestly, it doesn't change my opinion. His video is called, Hey Lore Cattle Ranch, Teach Me About Chris-chan History. And I'd love to. I think he and I have a lot in common, and Otaku going from another enabler, an enabler being someone who supports Chris and thus allows him to continue living his self-destructive delusions. Going from that to a responsible chronicler is something that I would love to see. Otaku has issues with Chris believing in the merge, so hopefully he can come on over and join the good side.